you're describing. Yeah. So anyway, yesterday, Gav, that's what I call him now because we're besties and I like everything he's ever done and I will never criticize anything he'll ever say. Sexy ass Gavin, gruesome Governor Gavin Newsom of California Oblast is doing a interview in New Hampshire with Jack Cocherella. He's great. He's a great content creator. He's like one of these like left adjacent, more progressive. He's not. I don't think he's like a communist by any means, but like he is pretty chill. Like as far as everything I've seen, he's not like one of those guys that's like I love Israel. He's not, right? And he gets yelled at a lot as well because Gavin Newsom went on his show and did this whole thing with him in New Hampshire, and Jewish Insider was like losing their minds over it. They were like, "How dare you, Gavin Newsom? You went on the show of a guy who has said fuck Israel." Now, Jack is also part of Midas Media Group, which I'm fond of. So. Anyway, let's watch what Gav had to say about potentially coming on. I had texted him. Shout out to everyone involved in this. I've had it, ladies. Ms. Welch specifically connected me with Jack, and Jack was like, "I'll ask him." So what on stage, he just straight up says it.
And like I said, I want to do a little bit more future given where we are and kind of a lot of what's been going on. But I wanted to get back into what you had to say about kind of, not in the spirit of that question, but reading the room when it comes to or understanding what makes, and we've had conversations about a guy like Steve Bannon, right? And Steve Bannon kind of helped build Donald Trump, his facade. Again, these things are lies. Yeah. But what in this moment, when you see so much of the right turning on itself, do you think, and it is, Trump was going after Tucker Carlson, he's going after Megyn Kelly. What do you think when you sit down and have a conversation with someone like Ben Shapiro? Like, what was your takeaway from that in terms of what do we need to be talking about? What do we need to be saying? Certainly not on the policy, but on the framing and the reaching people and the organizing. I kind of want to get back to that. Like, as you look into the future, what has been your takeaway of a conversation with Steve Bannon, a conversation with Charlie Kirk, a conversation with Ben Shapiro?
Guys, you can't get mad at him for having a long and convoluted question when I'm your favorite content creator. Okay? This is literally the Hasanabi method. Okay? Yes, he went all around the world to basically ask the fucking question, what's going on in your head when you talk to Ben Shapiro? Why do you do that? Okay? I do the same exact thing. It's fucking annoying. It sucks. I know it's not the best to watch from afar. But don't yell at him over this. This is he's green, just like I am. I'm not a very good interviewer, okay? It's a horrible trait that I have where I want to get in everything I possibly can before asking that question. And I think part of that comes from over-explaining everything because I have so many fucking clippers. There's so many goddamn clippers. That's what it is. So it just like has broken my brain. I need to like over-explain everything. Anyway, let's continue.
And the guy who tried to recall me, Newt Gingrich. Frank Luntz, I'm talking about framing and messaging. Those are not the only guests I have on this show, quite the contrary.
Never asked me on the show, Gav. I mean, it's fine though. It's fine though because we're good now. We're besties now. We're kissing.
By the way, I say this to folks all the time. No one has to tune in. I'm just trying to, I sincerely am trying to understand motivation. I'm trying to understand what we're actually up against. I've always believed, and a big part of this book, I'm a small business guy, started right out of college, pen to paper, a part-time employee, Pat Kelly, and I grew the business, about 21 small businesses, about 1,000 employees. I say that.
What is this? You over-explain everything no matter what the subject, even when it's like technical stuff like cameras and the other person has no idea what you're talking about? Really? Do I do that?
To not impress any of you, but to impress upon you this notion, my passion for entrepreneurship.
Do you think he was serious? He sounded very unserious about coming on. We shall see. Oh my God. Oh my God. Iran hit an American Patriot missile site in the UAE. No injuries reported. Photos provided by a source. That's really funny. Ryan, photos provided by a source. Thanks, Ryan. I call that a blammo. That's not good. That's the question I have is, are we winning? Is that what's going? Because everyone keeps telling me on the American side, the Amerifats keep telling me, oh, it's great, things are going great. But then I see stuff like this, and I'm like, blammo. Doesn't seem like things are going as great as the Amerifats are representing it. So I don't. There's a little bit awkwardness. Yeah, I mean, the only people that are winning in this process are obviously the fucking defense contractors. Let's be real. They are the ones who are looking at this and going, that's economic activity, baby. That's units. That's inventory that just got burned. Okay, that's inventory that just got burned. We got to replenish those stocks, baby. So anyway, let's get back to Big Gav for now, and then we'll talk about monitoring the situation in a second. I'm just going to hurry this up and skip to the part where he came out and said that he was willing to talk to your boy, right? So Jack is having a conversation about, like, talking to people in a broader coalition in the Democratic Party, and he basically asked him this question dead on.
TwitchCon. I'm meeting with gamers and streamers. I'm doing Fortnite Fridays.
Would you go on Hasan?
He loves Connor, by the way. It's kind of crazy. He loves Connor. He goes, Fortnite Fridays. Ha!
Would you go on Hasan's show, Twitch? Speaking of which,
might,
Hasan Pike, you might.
Yeah, which I've said in the past. And the point is, I'm just.
So Jack sends me, before he sends me this clip, he just says, like, oh, I asked him, right? And that's it. That's the whole thing. And the problem here is when Jack asked him, I thought he asked him in private after they were done. I didn't realize he put him on the spot on the stage. And I certainly didn't realize that his response was, yeah. So he got a little bit baited. But now the media is picking it up, and the media is talking about it as well, which is fine. I mean, this is like I don't know why he is running away from having a conversation with someone like myself. Like, you have to talk to your left flank, bro. That's crazy. Like, that's crazy. Okay? It's wild. Like, I am the largest leftist content creator in North America, man. What are we doing? Like we can't, as the Democratic Party, we can't be like, what happened to Kamala Harris? Oh, she didn't go on the Joe Rogan of the left, or she didn't go on Joe Rogan. Do we need a Joe Rogan of the left? Or who's the Joe Rogan of the left for like a year plus? And then he's like, yeah, like that's his answer. Like, it's crazy. You have to play a game with him and he'll come. Sure. That's Adam Friedland. You got your chain snatch, little bro. I think Adam Friedland and I occupy very different lanes. Okay. Like, Adam is great. Obviously he's doing a fantastic job. But it's, we have very different roles to play. Everyone has a role to play. You all have a role to play. Adam and I are playing a very different ball game, which is precisely the reason why he has no issues going on Adam Friedland and still seemingly can't get himself to talk to someone like myself. But I think but yeah, we'll see where this goes. I think he will get a lot of press off of this, though. Like, this will be a major press event. That's the thing. He will get good press off of this. And if he preps well enough, he can either destroy me, left flank destroyed style, or we can have a lot of areas of agreement and some significant disagreements. But like, ultimately, I think what matters is like having a conversation. Like, you got to have that conversation, right? But in any case, from this point onward, a lot of a lot of the liberals saw this, right? And they lost their dang minds, right? They lost their dang minds, and they've been losing their dang minds, and they haven't stopped losing their dang minds. I wonder when they will stop losing their dang minds. And what I mean by this is, you know, a lot of the like the national liberal member of MKE. I mean, this guy's a Republican, but like liberals on the centrist side and Republicans have been losing their fucking minds on this. Why is Gavin Newsom going on a live stream of an individual who vocally supports the Ayatollah and said the United States deserved 9/11? This is the equivalent of a Republican going on the Nick Fuentes show. Liberals are perfectly fine when Gavin Newsom platforms open fascists, but interviewing Hassan Piker is a step too far. Now, what's hilarious about this is like, they don't have an issue with, like, you know, Jeffrey Epstein's affiliate Steve Bannon talking to Gavin Newsom, but even the right-wingers are fucking terrified of Gavin Newsom and myself having a conversation. And the right-wingers who are literally GOP operatives like this fucking dipshit are doing a handshake with a lot of the centrist liberals who are also very offended at this prospect. And it's really interesting. Now, some might say this is Hasan derangement syndrome, and for some it really is, right? For some, it truly is. But for guys like A.G. Hamilton, again, another like centrist, center-right, right-wing figure, they're primarily focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's Israel, right? Because I need you guys to understand, there are people like Jose and all these other guys who are like Democratic Party champions, and they'll like ride for whoever. They hate me personally. They have Hasan derangement syndrome. But for many others on the right, the reason why they're very much against this is because they think Gavin Newsom is platforming me if he comes on my stream, right, and offering me legitimacy, not realizing that I've had people that have a higher significance in American politics than Gavin Newsom on with regular frequency, including last week, right? Like including a couple of weeks ago with Bernie Sanders. So these guys don't realize that it's not actually Gavin Newsom platforming me. It's the fucking other way around, right? So that's number one. Number two, they just cannot stand that, like, Israel has fallen off the map in terms of its approvals, right? They can't stand it. And instead of trying to understand why that's happening, and this is part of the reason why a lot of people don't fuck with Israel, it's just like the sheer arrogance, the endless amounts of the endless demands that people make. The endless demands that people make, you know, the Israeli government makes from the American taxpayer, and the consistent, arrogant, entitled ways in which they say you have to shut the fuck up about this, and the permanent victimhood complex. It's frustrating for a lot of everyday Americans who probably would have turned a blind eye to the atrocities, right? If it wasn't for the fact that there's so much domestic interference that starts pissing people off. You cannot say you're going to give me, you know, billions of dollars, and then you're going to shut the fuck up about it, and I'm going to demand that the American government silence you over and over again, and then not expect Americans to go, yeah, actually, I don't like that at all. And what's interesting is A.G. Hamilton also says this is the equivalent of a Republican candidate doing a stream with candidates over Nick Fuentes. Democrats can't lecture the right about their issues when they have zero standards for their own side. This kind of stuff is so silly because Gavin Newsom has literally spoken to Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, and Steve fucking Bannon. But of course, those guys are establishment and pro-Israel enough not to be a real problem for the likes of this dipshit, right? And he's also very much anti-Zoran as well. AG is very anti-Zoran as well. So the people that I'm showing you, the people that I'm showing you basically are those who actually work directly in the Israeli orbit, like directly work in the Hasanverse machine. Those are the guys who are doing the classic, this hurts your cause, except these are the guys who are not on board with the cause, who despise the cause, right? So these are right-wingers. But then there are some who are actually liberals. And I'm going to show you the liberal version of this as well, which is ironically identical, right, to the right-wingers. This is a Hasan Derangement syndrome guy. Crazy that Gavin Newsom would cave to Hassan Piker. Yeah, the same guy who said he'd vote third party if Gavin was the nominee. What are we doing here? Well, that's precisely the reason why Gavin Newsom should come on the stream, don't you think? To convince someone like myself and my audience to actually vote for him, to try to identify what the rooms of disagreement are, what the areas of disagreement are, what the areas of improvement are. Maybe he convinces me that he has a much better alternative, a much better vision, right? And it's so strange because these are also the same guys that constantly say you got to moderate and pivot to the fucking middle to win voters that will never vote for the Democratic Party, the Republicans, the independents, centrists that are really looking for a diet version of the same fascism that Republicans offer. And it's very interesting to see that from Democrats, right? Because the Republicans are always going to go like, these guys are anti-Semitic. These guys are anti-Semitic. Fuck them, fuck them, fuck them, fuck them. Why are you talking to these anti-Semites? You're a fucking asshole, whatever. Jose has retweeted every Hasan hate post in the last 24 hours. Yeah, he's mentally ill. He's a mentally ill person. You have to understand. Like, he truly, right? Squirrel was right about you, Lamau. Yes. Speaking of mentally ill people, I love when people also do this thing as well. Like every part of the political spectrum in the United States of America, perhaps in the entire planet, is mad at this, right? You have those who are to my left or who believe that they're to my left, thinking that I'm like betraying the anti-Zionist cause. Those who are to my right think that I am a spoiler for the Democratic Party and I want to destroy it. And no one should talk to me. Why do people listen to what I have to say? Those to the far right say I'm a terrorist that wants to destroy America, that want to do a 9/11 every other week. Everyone's got a piece, right? I do think that the reason for why people get so fucking mad is because I am not only considered a radical, understandably, by many who participate in like the neat little confine of American politics, because I am further to the left and that totally outside of the confines of what is permissible speech in neoliberalism. But also at the same time, I'm a very pragmatic person and have a very seen accounts calling you Zionabi, not even joking. Yeah, it's awesome. I don't care. I don't think you will be able to convince a single normal person that I am in any way, shape, or form a supporter of the state of Israel. So that's not going to happen, right? Those guys can fucking chirp into the wind. I'm not going to make a big show of like how normal I am in comparison to those fucking people, right? Because I think that's still unnecessary left bashing, and it's their position is like utterly irrelevant anyway, right? It's like when I call Zoran Mamdani as a joke. I am to your left and I don't give a shit. Normal people don't care who you interview, only if you start grifting and changing your views. Yeah. Yeah, no, saying like when someone says I'm a Zionist or I'm doing the bidding of Zionists or whatever, that's when you know, like, okay, you're talking to like a deeply mentally ill person. Because as far as like having mainstream potential, I don't think anyone has, with the exception of like Norm Finkelstein, obviously, who is an academic and occupies a very different lane than I do. There aren't that many people that go to mainstream news with regular frequency who have also openly explained the emancipatory needs of the Palestinian people and why the Palestinian resistance exists. And not even just the Palestinian resistance, but Hezbollah as well, Ansar Allah as well, and how these like militancies form and how the American understanding of how these guys are barbaric terrorists is just like utterly incorrect. You literally don't have that. That's not a thing that people do with regular frequency while also enjoying being, enjoying like a broader approval from mainstream outlets. But of course, it's funny to be in this very unique space where I piss off everyone that is pro-Israel, from liberal Zionists to obviously ultra-Zionists, and then I piss off people who are anti-Zionist sometimes, but like very marginally because they're offended because they think I'm like secretly doing the bidding of Israel. It's fine. You know what's driving me crazy is I can protest to fight back because I know there's not freedom of speech in Jordan, and the regime in Jordan will freak out. Yeah, I know. You're as good as it gets. My family doesn't like you, but I still watch you. Don't worry. Thank you, Nico Thomas. In any case, I think it's also silly to constantly talk about how I piss all these people off. Who gives a fuck, right? Anyway, Piker Broadcasting Service rides for all people all around the world, all of the dispossessed masses. We will always ride for them. It is the most just need. The emancipatory need is the most human need, okay? And we will always ride for people who are victims to colonial occupation, to imperialism. We will always ride for those who demand that freedom, okay? We will always ride for justice. So, it's pretty funny, though, because this story is not just about me. It's about Zohran Mamdani as well, AOCIA, and also now gruesome Governor Gavin Newsom, who I haven't been able to figure out a funny name for, because Gavin Newsom also had a little oopsie moment where he said something along the lines of, the academic and human rights consensus that Israel is an apartheid state, which is just the truth, by the way. Israel is an apartheid state. It's been an apartheid state for 80 years. It started off with the Nakba, which is, of course, Arabic for catastrophe. It was an ethnic displacement of 750,000 Palestinians, indigenous Palestinians that were pushed away from their lands, never to be able to return to their lands by what then became the nation state of Israel, okay, the Zionist entity. And it has never really stopped displacing, dispossessing, and destroying the lives of Palestinians. That is just the reality. And a recognition of that reality is not anti-Semitism, as a matter of fact. It's the fucking bare minimum, really. And Gavin Newsom did that bare minimum, and everyone got very mad at Gavin Newsom for that recognition of the bare minimum when he did this Pod John's conversation. Now, since then, everyone's been yelling at him. Since then, everyone's been yelling at Gavin. Everyone's been yelling at Zohran. Everyone, like Jewish Insider and all these other Hasbara's rags, have been losing their fucking minds. But the reason why they're yelling at anyone and everyone that speaks out against Israel or speaks to the truth of what Israel has done is getting yelled at because they can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Okay? They can't. They can't. It's over. As I say every single day, and I've said this over and over and over again, and I will repeat it every goddamn day of my life, today is the most popular day for Israel in the Western world, in the entire world. Tomorrow, Israel will be less popular. Okay? Yesterday, Israel was more popular than it is today. And these institutions that were designed, that have been around for almost a fucking century, not a century, obviously, but like for 80 plus years at this point, right? All of these institutions that are tasked with defending Israel and doing advocacy for Israel, doing Hasbara, from liberal versions of the same institutes to very far-right versions, they're all losing their fucking minds. They're trying to hold on to this grip of influence that they've long enjoyed. But it's gone. It's over. And so they're just wildly slinging at anyone and everyone they can. Here is ADL Washington, after a Jewish Insider article came out of Senator Chris Van Hollen, who took aim at AIPAC during an address at the opening plenary of J Street's convention in Washington, accused it of being un-American. Another one of my ops, Gabby Deutsch, senior national correspondent at Jewish Insider, reports. Now, what's really funny about what Chris Van Hollen said here is that this doesn't even meet my fucking standard. Like, I really like Chris Van Hollen. I think J Street is still a liberal Zionist institution. I believe Zionism is a fascist ideology. We must rid ourselves of fascist ideology, whether we are, God-fearing liberals or card-carrying communists and Marxist-Leninists alike. We must always oppose fascism, and liberal, watered-down versions of a fascist ideology, of a racist ideology, is still unacceptable, and hopefully one day we'll get there, obviously. Chris Van Hollen goes to J Street, which, again, I don't find to be as offensive because I think J Street is a farm operation for young anti-Zionist Jews. They come in, they're like, oh, I'm a liberal Zionist. I want a more tolerant version of Israel. And they recognize the contradictions and decide whether or not they want to lean into the Benny Morris side of things, where they just become totally aware of all of the violence and say it's a necessary violence, or they become anti-Zionist. Like Noah Colwyn, good friend of mine, friend of the show, host of the Blowback podcast, is a version of this, right? He was a J Street guy when he was at Berkeley, and he talked about BDS being anti-Semitic, and now, as you guys know, he is an anti-Zionist warrior. So, you're being charitable more than you've been in years with libs right now. Is it because of a possible Newsom convo? Wait, what? You've shit-talked Newsom so much. Why are you changing tones so strongly? I don't think you understand. This has nothing to do with Newsom. We've moved past that point. We're fucking talking about Israel's propaganda war and how it's losing it. So Chris Van Hollen comes out at J Street and says, I put forward months and months ago a proposal that said, with respect to any country that receives U.S. military assistance has to agree that, number one, comply by American law and by international law. You know who came out against that? AIPAC came out against that, Van Hollen said. I will tell you that AIPAC may call itself pro-American. They may call themselves pro-Israel, but they are neither. And, of course, the crowd celebrated that because, like I said, JPAC, liberal Zionists, they were like, yeah, fuck AIPAC. AIPAC is the right-wing version of J Street. J Street is the liberal Zionist version, right? So, in any case, I don't even fully agree with Chris Van Hollen here. I think this is too tempered. This is too soft of an approach, but it is what it is. I think it's still like far better than the average congressperson. He's done quite a bit, so I'm not going to aggressively attack him for this because I'm not fucking insane in the way that many others are, who will say this is the reason why you're a fucking Zionist, Hasan, because anything that moves the needle in the appropriate direction, I will take. Because that opens up the door for more honest conversations about what's going on, right? That's just how it works. It's like pulling the Overton window back to normalcy and truth and justice for Palestinians. I'm going to do that. So the very fact that Jewish Insider wrote this hit piece on Chris Van Hollen after Chris Van Hollen took this very normal, very popular approach, a liberal Zionist approach, right, is showcasing how off their rockers Jewish Insider and Zionist Hasanabi newspapers are, right? It's clear that for the remaining, 8 people that read these newspapers sincerely, their job is to make them more fucking hysterical, make them basically give them adult onset schizophrenia, that there is this anti-Semitic boogeyman in every corner. Like Chris Van Hollen is an anti-Semite. Gavin Newsom is an anti-Semite. I can understand why they would consistently say, I'm a fucking anti-Semite, because they're like, oh, well, Hasan has said, there is a emancipatory need for Palestinians. And part of that is a militant resistance to 80 years of apartheid and occupation. It's not true, but I can understand why they would try to put the crosshairs on someone like myself. But when they do this kind of thing, to people who are literally still saying I love Israel, Israel's my favorite country, I just want it to do a little bit better, they look ridiculous. They look utterly fucking ridiculous. And they're flailing. And they're coming after people who are objectively more popular than they are. They look like Deborah Messing. They look like Rabbi Shmuley. They look like Michael fucking Rappaport. It's the same thing that I've mentioned before. When you come after Miss Rachel and you say, Miss Rachel said No children should die. That's deeply anti-Semitic. Why are you criticizing Israel? And everyone goes, what the fuck? She just said children shouldn't have to die. Why are you telling on yourself? When did this become an association with Jews? What the fuck's wrong with you? A lot of people respond that way. They go, what are you saying? What are you saying right now? Are you saying that like baby murder has something to do with Judaism? What are you, fucking stupid? Why would you come out and own that? Why would you come out and conflate, as a Jewish Zionist, why would you conflate the murdering of children with Judaism? It's the most insane thing. You look hysterical, you look crazy, and you're honestly fomenting anti-Semitism with this insane conflation. So it's that same predicament for a lot of these guys. And, you know, you want your enemies, you want your ideological enemies to fail. And although the job is very difficult, the job of defending Israel, I mean, it's a very difficult job. These guys sure as shit are not doing a good job regardless. Jewish Insider also is very funny because like they are some of the most paywalled articles of all time. So it's like almost impossible to read them. But yeah, in an ongoing congressional race in New York City, Representative Dan Goldman, who's going after Brad Lander, right? Brad Lander is taking Dan Goldman's seat and he's gonna take it. Okay, Brad Lander also liberal Zionist, right? I have my criticisms for Brad Lander as well. But he's going after someone who is an ultra-Zionist, Dan Goldman, right? Dan Goldman is very racist towards Palestinians, and it turns out might be racist towards black and brown people as well, judging by the conversations that he might have had with his wife, who is also a public figure. Now, while that scandal is ongoing in New York politics, of course, Jewish Insider comes out with an attack ad with a hit piece on Zohran Mamdani. Josh Krauscher reports, scoop, Jewish Insider via Will Brederman. Will Brederman, by the way, is actually a good journalist. And the reason why, like, being a good journalist doesn't mean you're going to be an honest one. Being a good journalist doesn't mean that you're going to, like, he's skillful, okay? He is skillful in pushing the right kind of buttons, which is why he's dangerous. He's more dangerous, in my opinion, than like Gabby Deutsch and all those other guys. It's actually very frustrating to see someone who actually does have talent in, what's it called? Muckraking, to engage in these kinds of like horrible attacks, cynical attacks. He is a fucking weasel, which is good to, you know, it's a good quality to have in a journalist. Like he is, if he was this devious and was doing this to, you know, a Zionist, you would love it. Okay, but he's getting paid probably a nice little salary over at Jewish Insider, and you know, I hate to see talent go to waste like this. Anyway, so what is this? So what are you, a pro-Gaff for president, Democratic shill now? Says Freddie Engels. I think every time I read stuff like this, it takes a little bit off the top of my lifespan. And it also makes me understand why so many fucking like self-described liberals think that we are all like this. Okay? Like this is what I used to warn people at the peak of like, you know, woke 1.0, when I used to tell people in my audience all the time, like, you got to dial it back. You can't literally look at the cartoonish depiction of what the left is supposed to be, this SJW that's hysterical, and then lean into that and be like, no, actually, I am that cartoonish depiction. You're doing that right now. You are looking at the way that your enemy defines you and saying, actually, my enemies are right. I am fucking stupid. Please stop. Please. We got to do away with this kind of mentality. In any case, as I was saying, First Lady Rama Dawaji showed support for far-left orgs applauding the Hamas rampage. That's the article. Okay, that's the hit piece that came out against Zohran Kwame Mamdani. But I have to pee first, so I'm going to get back to Gavin Newsom.
That's a no.
clarifying his comments after he got attacked by the same Zionist Hasanabi newspapers.
Right.
Okay.
I want to do a little forward looking at the same time as we do a little looking back, because I think so much of the book is kind of intermixed in the conversations that you've been having about so much current news going on. One of which you gave an answer talking with good guys at Pod Save America when you likened the Israeli government to an apartheid state. And there was a lot of conversation online about that. I think some people said that, I saw some headlines that were saying essentially Newsom is kind of reading the direction of the room. He's licking the finger, seeing where the wind is blowing, seeing the polls, seeing that. The genocide that is being carried out by the Israeli government is incredibly unpopular with every single American broadly. And they're saying you're just reading that and you don't actually believe what you said there, or it's kind of like a shape-shifting move by you. But it made me think back to 2004 when you risked your own political career talking about and moving forward with marrying gay and lesbian couples in San Francisco, and how
Black and white movie days.
But how party leaders didn't want to talk to you because of it. You kind of got, you'll read it in the book, a little skirt. President Obama didn't necessarily want to talk to you.
He turned out, he became a rock star and champion on it.
But you also mentioned that Senator Dianne Feinstein, who was one of your political mentors, how after the 2004 election kind of blamed you and said that you restarted this conversation, and it kind of history echoes a little bit. In the same way, 2004 DNC, you're a rising star, weren't invited. 2024 DNC, we let every group talk except for Palestinian Americans. And then that's the group of people that we blame, saying that it's their fault and not reckoning, realizing, talking.
Obama didn't want to talk to him because he had Kirk on? That's funny.
About reaching out to people who are seeing their entire families lost in what every expert has called a genocide. And now they're saying Newsom's just reading the room. So what was your reaction to seeing that, of Newsom's just reading the room?
Well, I didn't, thank God I don't read comments. I would literally be.
He's like, I can't read. I'm just like you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that because Gavin, that's my boy. That's my freaking boy right there. Is Jewish Insider a real publication? Is it more like New York Post or National Enquirer? It's actually worse. Jewish Insider is like the farming operation for New York Post and all these other outlets that will get the ADL talking points. Jewish Insider's job is basically to take like whatever ADL's like attack lines are. ADL's a think tank that's like the pro-Israel think tank. It's no longer a fucking civil rights organization. Let's be real. That's not the case. I'm not going to even dignify that. It's basically like an oppositional think tank for prominent anti-Zionists at this point, and it used to masquerade as like a civil rights organization. It's not. And then Jewish Insider takes the talking points and turns it into a news article, and then the talking points are distributed across the board to New York Post, to National Enquirer, to California Post now, and numerous other properties like Fox News Digital and stuff. Sometimes they can actually hit though, and if they do, it crosses over to like serious news outlets. But their job is to be more than a blog for the ADL, right? Their job is to bridge the gap between New York Post and all these other like insincere right-wing dish rags that are doing real journalism, but it's not real journalism at all, as you know. And their job is to just like pump it out there to be a bridge between the ADL talking points and the New York Post and Fox News' digital team or the Free Press. And then the goal there obviously is to mass disseminate this kind of hit piece and to get like a New York Times reporter to like bite on it so that someone asks Zoran Mamdani, like, what do you have to say about your wife liking these posts or whatever, right? Like that's the goal. Oh, Gavin Newsom, what do you have to say about like, all these other organizations, all these other newspapers are, calling you out for saying it's an apartheid.
In some locked room right now, if I did. But if you read the book, you'll also understand my connection to history. I grew up, many members of my family.
The consensus among Marxist-Leninists that you're an opportunist, especially after you butchered Lenin on stream. Oh no. Oh no. What will I do? My Marxist-Leninist reading group no longer offers critical support. Not the Marxist-Leninist reading group. I lost the Marxist-Leninist reading group. They don't offer critical support any longer? What will I do? I got kicked out of the Vanguard. What will I do? Hassan Piker, the butcher of Lenin. Yeah. Certainly, I've never been called a revisionist before. Listen. All I will say, as long as you don't call me an anarchist or a trot, I'm fine. Go ahead.
Are Jewish?
You didn't answer my question. Are you pro Gav now? Oh my God. Brother, I did answer your question. You're just too stupid to understand it.
My aunt, Cindy.
I'm not gonna lie. When I do see stuff like that in the group chat here, I do understand why a lot of liberals think we're like fucking stupid. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I get why they think we're insincere and kind of dumb, and will be relegated to the dustbin of history for another 1,000 fucking years, unfortunately, which is not the case, of course, and it won't happen, and I will never let that happen. But some of you, I'll just have to pull with me along for the journey, and hopefully there will come a day where you'll go, okay, I get it now, I understand it now, or maybe you won't. You call for a socialist alternative and they're literally trots. What are you on about? No, the reason why I say that is because, I know socialist alternative is a trot party, but Trotsky is an incredible writer. Okay, well, his earlier work especially. He has a lot of concepts that aren't necessarily bad in terms of like mass dissemination. There's a reason why a lot of the fucking pamphlets and a lot of the websites that you see that are like Marxist websites are almost entirely comprised of trots. Okay? The reality of the matter is, I mean, don't look at the lay stuff. The anti-communist garbanzo is reactionary, it's devastating, it's horrifying. I'm not getting into that, but like there are a lot of things that there are a lot of marketing techniques that I think are appropriate to use when disseminating the gospel of socialism and, saying we are demanding an alternative to liberalism, a socialist alternative is not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's just, I'm using language, right? I'm using the English language to make a point. You got to start calling more people stupid, Hassan, and tell them why. For too long, we've let these people roam thinking that they're smarter than they are. Why do you oppose the Marxist-Leninists to the liberals and mainstream media if to your own chat you ridicule it? I'm not ridiculing Marxist-Leninism, you fucking idiot. I'm ridiculing people who say that like there is like my methods of talking about these sorts of things are wrong, and it's actually cutting away at the revolutionary potential because they're childish. They don't recognize where the masses are. My job is to unlock class consciousness. Okay? That's it. That's my fucking job. My job is to help organize. My job is to engage in mass awareness. You should ridicule MLs though. They're fucking insane. No, they're not. Shut the fuck up. No, Marxist-Leninism is not Marxist-Leninism is a failed ideology. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you built communism in your fucking commune. What do you mean Marxist-Leninism is the most failed ideology? The only successful development of socialism by way of communist parties have come from Marxist-Leninist movements. What the fuck is wrong with you? That's ridiculous. That is a ridiculous statement. Anyway, do you think Trotsky would have fared better after Lenin as opposed to Stalin? I don't think so. No. Anyway, let's continue. What are we doing? What are we doing? This is repulsive to the normies. There are normies in here who want to monitor the situation, and we're having sectarian infighting. Shut the fuck up. There is no socialism in America. There is no communism in America. Shut the fuck up, okay? Shut up. Shut up. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to have these sorts of fucking constant back and forths. Like, it's so stupid. Shut up. America is a fascist country right now, and all of these dumb fucks in the chat, while I'm trying to talk to liberals and trying to educate them on I try to give them the political education, the language to comprehend exactly what's going on, and you dumb fucks have to literally engage in a 100-year-old theory battle. This is what I mean. I wish the DSA would never reveal their internal communiques. This is what I mean when I say, we look unserious, okay? It's embarrassing. We look unserious. We have no understanding of how to market our ideology. It's frustrating. No, it's not fun. It's fun because you're fucking annoying. That's why it's fun for you, because you're an annoying person. I need you to understand. Constantly looking for areas of disagreement because you think this is going to develop the most pure version, the most successful version of Marxism is idiotic, okay? Lock in. We're here. I'm going to jiggle the keys in front of your eyes again. Once again, I'm going to talk about Israel. I'm going to talk about fucking American imperialism and American fascism so you can just lock the fuck in and shut the fuck up about anarchism versus Trots versus Marxist Leninism. Shut the fuck up. Okay. The two-party ironclad pro-Israel consensus will be dead in the United States in the next 10 to 20 years, or maybe sooner. The war in Iran will drive the young left and the young right away from Israel. The die has been cast. Ross Barkin writes in the New York Magazine. And that's true. That is literally what's going on, right? And the reason why the reason why these guys are fucking posturing the way that they are, Jewish Insider and all these other Hasbara operations, the reason why they're posturing the way that they're posturing is because they kind of see the writing on the wall and they're very frustrated and they're flailing around hysterically, trying to hold on to some semblance of influence. If we just get 10 new people to believe this person is an anti-Semite when he's clearly not, well then, we've gotten our job across. That's 10 people that won't listen to this guy sincerely. And ultimately, the reason why I'm covering all this is because I think we should treat these people as irrelevant. And by that, I don't mean everyone in this audience, because you guys already know that they're fucking hysterical weirdos that are pro-Israel and pro-genocide. But I mean Democrats broadly, who I think still look at, these kinds of articles and go, wait a minute. I don't understand. People are yelling at me. Maybe I should reconsider what I said. Maybe I should shut up about my opinions, right? Hassan Parker on streaming all day. His relationship with Zohar Mamdani and the lefty media machine. Oh, yeah.
So just...
We did an hour-long interview with Semaphore, but this is for the media heads. You know what I mean? This was straight up media diet, consumption, where American culture is going. If we have some time, maybe we'll go to it in a little bit. But I love doing podcasts like this. Specifically because all of the industry professionals tune into this stuff, and that's that's where they get their nose from. This drives discourse. It's good. It's a good thing. Um, One example, Zohran Mamdani, who Piker supported vociferously during his successful bid for New York City mayor last year. During the campaign, Mamdani's opponents emphasized that he and Hassan Piker had in common and played up Piker's partisan commentary. They decided to be like, Hassan is this dangerous radical and you're associating with him. Why won't you denounce him? Piker recalled, I don't even want there to be a conversation around stuff like that. I should never be the conversation. Piker also chatted with us about how he manages to stream so much and why there isn't never a better time to be a bigot on the internet. You can listen to the full interview on Mixed Signal, Semaphore, Media, wherever you get your podcast, and watch it on YouTube. So this is like very media focused. This is a very media focused conversation. There's also another really good article that came out as well on The Observer, which had a banger quote that I like a perfect way to describe what goes on in the chaotic scenes of my stream. From a journalist who I forgot I had actually interviewed a long time ago, who finally came out with this article. And I want to give you that choice quote before we move on to other stuff, before we move on to monitoring the situation. Where is it? Hold up. Let me see if I can find it. Does anyone have the it was on my, here's the Observer Co. UK article. Hassan Piker. The left should be better at manufacturing outrage. The Joe Rogan for Progressives talks politics to his 3 million online followers for 7 hours a day. He explains why. So the interview's great. The photos are great. All this stuff, right? But the funniest, the one I liked the most was, where is it? Not all flack is coming from the right. Some on the left hate the fact that he's made a fortune from streaming about social inequality. He owns a $2.7 million house in West Hollywood, whatever, all this stuff. Then there's the edginess factor. Wait, was that? No, that's not the. Where the fuck is it? Where he was talking about. I read the article earlier. There was a point where he's like listening in to what my stream looks like, or what my stream sounds like from the to the outsider, and I thought it was like at the end, maybe. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, here it is. Here is the last two paragraphs. Last weekend, as the U.S. and Israel started bombing Iran, I tuned into Piker's stream to hear his reaction. In contrast to his mood in Minnesota, he's very animated. Unsurprisingly, Piker is not a cheerleader for the strikes and has many derisive things to say about the United States and Israel's actions. He describes the unfolding conflict as World War E for Epstein. He says that even compared with previous attempts to justify attacking Middle Eastern countries, the Bush administration makes the Trump administration look like fucking savages. At least the former had a sophisticated propaganda apparatus that tried to package an illegal and unjust war. He mocks Israel for killing an 86-year-old man, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was in his fucking home tending his flower garden or whatever, and he feels that Israelis in cities being targeted by Iranian missiles are getting a taste of their own medicine. In response to a meme about enlisting Trump's youngest son to fight Iran, he yells, "Send Barron, strap him to a fucking JDAM, Joint Direct Attack Munition." At one point, while my attention is elsewhere, I hear him shouting, "Khrushchev was a fucking lion," referring to the Soviet leader. When a commenter asks Piker if he thinks any good will come as a byproduct of all this violence, he says, maybe one day, if the American empire falls as a consequence of spreading itself too thin all around the globe as it tries to maintain its dominance, it will be very painful for those both inside and outside the imperial core, he acknowledges, but eventually change will come. One can hope. And that's where the article ends. Reading your unhinged rants written out in a journalistic way is amazing. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Oh, for that one chatter, Iran's supreme leader was not in his bunker when he was killed last week, and a senior Israeli official told Fox News. Even as the operation was unfolding in real time, dozens of planes were making their way to Iranian skies. His inner circle didn't grasp what was happening quickly enough to move him underground, the official added. In parallel, there was a deception campaign orchestrated by American and Israeli officials to trick Iran into thinking an attack wouldn't happen that morning. Yeah, that's called perfidy. Like, it's illegal. It's a war crime. They were literally amidst negotiations. And I love that Israel will like take something that is immoral, unjust, disgusting, grotesque, whatever you want to fucking call it, and turn it into incredible operations. Okay. Ooh, we tricked them. Yeah. You tricked them into thinking that you were not an animal, but a human being with a conscience. Okay. Wow. Great trick. What an incredible trick you pulled off. It's called lying. It's called not having any interest in actually negotiating with a country that you want to destabilize and destroy, and then blowing the negotiators up. Incredible stuff. Thank you. The top commanders of the IDF even went to their homes for Shabbat dinner on Friday night, just hours before the strike, in an attempt to deceive Iranian leadership, the official said. Yeah. We did it. They're going to ban you for that one again, Unc? Wait, which one? What? Ban me for what? Saying that a war crime is a fucking war crime? That's so dumb. What animal? No, I didn't package it with like an ideology. Don't worry. It's only, it's not a TOS violation if I just call someone an animal, dumbass. I mean, well, I shouldn't say dumbass. I think you're just scared that I'll get banned. Also, if I do, I'll go to fucking YouTube. Anyway, where were we? Oh, I was talking about like Zoran getting attacked. And how ridiculous it is. But the reason is, here, we'll read through this article real quick. We'll talk about the Zoran situation, and then we'll move on to monitoring the situation, okay? Because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to monitor. And we're going to get into it, right? But, yeah, first, New York City's first lady, Zoran Mamdani's wife, apparently liked some Instagram posts, right? New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani spent the mayoral campaign distancing himself from the most radical anti-Israel elements of his leftist movement, but an examination of his wife's social media activity reveals she liked multiple Instagram posts cheering on Hamas October 7th, 2023. The post, liked by Rama Dawaji, a Syrian-American artist, unambiguously celebrated a terrorist attack, which saw nearly 1,200 Israelis and foreign workers killed, thousands wounded, 251 civilians and military personnel kidnapped, and numerous episodes of sexual assault. The Instagram post shows stills from participants' live stream footage of the attack. First, a bulldozer that terrorists used to breach the barrier separating Israel from Gaza. The second of attackers riding on a captured IDF vehicle. Now, if they wrote this article before the election cycle, if they wrote this article in like December of 2023, this would destroy Zoran Mamdani's political career, right? It would be a very difficult thing for him to overcome. Writing this article after the genocide unfolded in 2026 means nothing. It's utterly meaningless. And the reason for why it's utterly meaningless is because on October 6th, 2023, and on October 7th, 2023, the overwhelming majority of Americans were oblivious to the ways in which Israel maintained its apartheid. Okay? That's the difference. 2.5 years after genocide has unfolded, people now understand why October 7 happened. This was what I was trying to communicate to people on October 10th, on October 8th, on October 9th. I was trying to explain to people that 75 years of military occupation, death, destruction, and displacement was inevitably going to yield a violent response. Okay? People like Zoran's wife clearly understood. They were right too early. And you can get mad at them, or a lot of people did get mad at those who understood the broader situation, the broader context of blowback, the broader context of basically what amounts to a prison break, a Warsaw Ghetto uprising, right? But the issue is, at the time, most people were oblivious to it. But due to consistent advocacy, due to the steadfast, resilient nature of Palestinians, okay? Now more Americans are aware of the situation. Combing through Instagram likes, you are literally onto nothing. You can understand why it happened and still not like it. Yeah, no, I understand that. It was horrible. I say it's horrible, of course. But the problem that many people don't understand is that an Instagram like of that sort is not an indication of a clear-cut statement, right? Did you see the job reports? I did. America is winning at fucking job loss. We're number one at job loss, baby. Anyway. How are they even finding her likes? They're just going back. They're going back on the Wayback Machine, probably, if she didn't clean up her likes or whatever. But yeah, I like breaking news posts all the time that are really fucking bad news. Does that mean I like the fucking news? Yeah, exactly. It's idiotic. Like policing is a remnant, a relic at this point of woke 1.0. This kind of stuff was all the rage in like 2016, but people have already developed a negative association with things like that anyway, right? Yeah, and the post itself that they are talking about, this is apparently the post Jay I had a stroke about, a post that rightfully lists Israel's crimes against Palestinians. Yeah. As all eyes around the world focus on Palestine, keep in mind that these walls were built to separate along ethnic lines, the very definition of apartheid. Gaza has been aptly described as the world's largest and longest standing open-air prison for millions of people who have committed no crime and have had no trial. Access to and from Gaza is nearly impossible, and most residents are violently forbidden from visiting family outside of Gaza, rebuilding their homes, fishing, or farming, being employed or doing business outside of Gaza, or even crossing outside the walls. Nearly 40% of Gaza's population lives in poverty, isolated and segregated, intentionally kept in poverty, blockade, occupation, and often heavy military attack. That was the post that she liked. Trying to turn this into a news story relies on people's lack of knowledge of the conditions of Palestinians in Gaza. But the cat's out of the fucking bag. Do you see what I mean? This is precisely the point I'm making. You could get away with this when the overwhelming majorities were completely oblivious to the everyday living conditions of Palestinians in Gaza under brutal and ruthless military occupation by Israel, a complete blockade hermetically sealed from the rest of the planet, right? In 2026, when you engage in one, like policing, which is utterly repulsive to the average person, while simultaneously the thing you're like policing is someone liking an Instagram post of an accurate reflection on everyday Palestinian existence that happens to be right but too early for the taste of the average person, when the average person's opinion is closer to Rama Dawaji's opinion, it's over. Look at this guy. You know what shouldn't happen? Killing 260 people at a music festival. No, you're right, man. That just happened on its own because, like, bad guys wanted to do bad things. You're right. Do you think the Israeli state was just, like, peacefully coexisting? They didn't deserve it, you idiot. My goal is solutions. Your goal is the continuation of violence. You want every single Palestinian to be executed ruthlessly in the streets. How do you think this happens? You think these people are just like, oh, we were violent because we want to be violent? Or do you think it's because you have entrapped them, you have bullied them, you have subjugated them? 2 million people live inside of Gaza. They're not even people in the eyes of Israelis. The average age is 18 years old, 57% unemployment. They can't even get
concrete inside of Gaza so they can build water salination plants because 97% of their water is toxic. They're dying of mass starvation. You cannot push people into a corner their whole lives and not expect them to fight back at a certain point. Look at this guy. That was on October 12th, 2023. That's why I laugh whenever motherfuckers are like, Hasan, you're a Zionist. You're a Zionist, Hasan. It's funny. Still, there are chatters calling you Zaya Piker. I mean, it's laughable. Let's see a chatter check to see where that chatter's at. Ooh. Oh, wait. We don't have his name. Oh, Zride. Z-R-Z-Ride. I mean, they're probably banned, but wait. Oh, they changed their username, maybe? Z-Ride. Because it says this user has not chatted in this channel. Yeah, this was posted on October. This is something I said on my October 8th, 2023 stream, one day after October 7 when I went live. And it was posted, I believe, on like October 9th or October 10th or something. But yeah. Deleted the account and made a new one. Yeah, ironically, maybe they're actually anti-Zionist and now they're telling me I'm a Zionist. What is this? Old. What the fuck is this, man? I don't want to watch this right now. We'll get to it during Okay Buddy. You're firing off early on. It is painful for you and us to be right, being too early like you always say. You just have to write it out and eat the fucking backlash until everyone understands. Yes. It is not painful to be right but too early, okay? Because at the end of the day, you have to understand what you're advocating for, okay? We live incredible lives in the imperial core, okay? Think about the fucking victims that you are speaking for. Think about the voiceless that you're offering a voice to. It's nothing. Oh no, people are calling me a terrorist. People are sending me death threats. Who gives a fuck? Compare that to the conditions of the average fucking Palestinian living under Israeli blockade, living under Israeli bombing campaigns. It's nothing. Same thing goes for Iranians too, okay? You don't do it because you want to be right. You don't do it for moral posturing. You're doing this so you can communicate the truth to people and you stand on those principles and you engage in this advocacy so more and more people finally realize from Palestine all the way to Havana, Cuba, okay? From Gaza in Palestine all the way to Havana, Cuba, we dominate the entire fucking planet. We subjugate them. We humiliate them. We do not allow them to have autonomy. And of course, I'm going to fucking speak for those people who never get a voice in Western media. And you should too. And you're not fucking doing that so that people go, oh my God, you're brilliant. You're so moral. You're doing that because it's right. You're doing that because you want people to understand. You want people to come to your side. You want people to also advocate for these people. You're doing it. You're playing your part in changing people's minds. You're playing your part in reaching broad awareness. Who gives a shit? Imagine if I just had this morally righteous attitude all the fucking time. Imagine if I just postured at chatters who were going on their own ideological journey all the fucking time and just like humiliated them to be like, oh, you're fucking stupid all the time.
Imagine if I didn't have an understanding approach. White savior complex for real, fa. Okay, shut the fuck up. Shut up, bitch. You do call us stupid. Yeah, because you do sometimes say stupid shit. To be fair, you do yell at us a lot, and it hurts my feelings. Okay, well, I'm sorry. Sometimes I do got to tell chatters who think they have the better approach and the better method, who just like who demonstrate their inability to understand what I'm trying to do. Okay. You cannot win them over. This, by the way, this is anti-Maoist, even though it's from Huey P. Newton. It's an anti-Maoist line of demarcation. It's you cannot win them over by drawing the line of demarcation, saying you're on this side and I'm on the other. That shows a lack of consciousness. After the Black Panther Party was formed, which is Maoist, supposed to be Maoist, I nearly fell into this error. I could not understand why people were blind to what I saw so clearly. Then I realized their understanding had to be developed. It's a great line when you are engaging in mass awareness, but there are also instances where you can draw that line of demarcation. You know, it's okay. It's appropriate to show people who your enemies are. You don't need to worry. What is this, son? I'm crying. Oh, the Dubai influencers. I don't think you realize how much you do scream at us. It's not just about being left in us, unless it's to line overt Nazi. Usually you're screaming about us as not being normal. Yes, I do. When I yell at you, Zirda's new stream username is yesterday. Oh, you found it. You fucking found it. Is it actually him? Oh my God, you did. Oh my God, you did. 10-month subscriber. You know what shouldn't happen? Killing 260 people at a music festival. Yeah, they deserved it. Smooth brain day. Fuck off. Y'all throwing shots at the GOAT? Wait, let's see where they're at now. Hold on. Holy, you found it. Asmongold is, in my opinion, a classic Groyper accelerationist. Kai doesn't deserve that. I don't like you at all, but I don't want to watch you die. Gross. BB and Trump aren't too different. No more war, please. John Fetterman shudders. 24 can't be a day over 22. I love this guy's energy. Cap 225. He's still in here. He's still in here, and his position seemingly has shifted. Look at that. Look at that. He's still fucking annoying. Don't get me wrong. Clearly, from the way he talks, I still get that vibe from him. But having said that, look at that. October 7 leaver returner once again. Look. Biker Broadcasting Service. The gag reflex can only stop you from the red pill for so long. What? Did you see the response from City Hall, the Jewish Insider? Yeah, so the last part of the Zohar Mamdani story that I want to get to, again, an act of desperation. Like, you can't read this as anything but an act of desperation. The extensive caption on the post lament said, if and when the occupation forces to retaliate against this resistance, Gazans will be punished for wanting freedom from apartheid. Dawaji, who met Mamdani on a dating app in 2021 and married him early in 2025, liked this post and others using a personal account in her own name on which she's posted her often political illustrations. Dawaji did not respond to multiple requests for comment, and the mayor's office would not answer questions regarding his feelings. So they did ask Zohar Mamdani, and Zohar Mamdani did reply. My wife is the love of my life,
And she's also a private person who has no formal position on my campaign or in my city hall, Mamdani says, when asked about this story just now. Says it's his responsibility to answer his thoughts, policies, and decisions. So what's frustrating about this is, like, it'll turn into a larger story. Probably they're going to still keep, like, hammering him with this shit. Why did you kill your dog? I was angry and I couldn't control it. I couldn't control my anger. So I just zapped her too hard and now she's dead. It's really fucked up, I know. Now she's roasting in that light like a gas station hot dog. Yeah. I love how Kai sleeps peacefully while you yell. Well, considering that ever since she was a little lady, like a little tiny baby, even though she was never quite tiny, she's gotten used to me fucking screaming into this whatever this is from her perspective. So she's very used to it. Yeah, so they're just mad. Basically, they're just mad that the New York Times did an expose on the social media profile of Dan Goldman's wife, and that's the reason why they had to do the same attack. It's a classic right-wing method, right? To basically put people on a defensive posture, to get people to engage in a defensive posture by being like, no, you. And they do it all the time. Republicans do it all the time. Reactionaries do it all the time. And Jewish Insider is a reactionary paper because it is a Zionist paper. And Zionism is racist and Zionism is fascist. And therefore, of course, they're going to do the same exact thing. Frontal camera angle is better, in my opinion. I agree. It's like it's a little bit darker and it looks better, I know. So that's it. That's the story. They're trying to hit a no you basically because of the Dan Goldman story that came out that was very embarrassing for those who have the capacity to feel shame. Zoran is not going to come out and be like, my wife is my wife and she has every right to like whatever the fuck she wants to, because he has a very careful approach to this kind of thing. He's too afraid. He's too afraid of the backlash. And, it's worked out well for him, I guess. There are instances where I do get frustrated with him. But, I guess to be a public figure is to constantly eat that ritualistic humiliation. His team did not respond to them. His team did respond to them. Mayor Mamdani has been clear and consistent. Hamas, a terrorist organization, October 7th was a horrific war crime, and he condemned that violence unequivocally as City Hall spokesperson. See, this is what I mean. Like, 2026, man. This is what I mean. 2026. Like, you can add some qualifiers to this. You know what I mean? This is also the type of shit that really, really fucking frustrates the likes of Squirrel and everybody else. I am, I guess, more forgiving, even though I think there is a lot more room to expand on this conversation. And ironically enough, he used to have those conversations before he became the fucking mayor.
And having that expansive conversation unironically allowed more people to see the truth. Do you think it's understandably frustrated even if we share our understanding? Yes. You keep attributing to fear what could be attributed to simply wanting to avoid distractions and blatant cynicism in favor of focusing on delivering. Has he addressed this with you? I've never, I haven't like personally been like, the fuck are you doing? If that's what you're asking me about this kind of stuff. We're not that tight, dude. Like, anyway, we're tight, but we're not that tight. You're not Gavin Newsom type of Zoran? Yeah. This guy is one of the biggest leftist commentators in Mexico. They had Claudio Sheinbaum on their show during the elections called Los Periodistas. Maybe they can get you in contact. I mean, I can't even contact this guy. How am I going to? I can't believe this guy's going to be a congressperson. Oh, we're going to talk about this guy as well. I know. I asked earlier, but do you have any links or places that we can read more about in supporting the upcoming flotilla in Cuba? Israel assesses that Azerbaijan may attack Iran or join the coalition against Iran. Don't get me fucking started on Azerbaijan, bro. Don't. Oh my God. I'm sure it's an exaggeration. Utterly ridiculous. Financial Times reporting that ships are declaring themselves Chinese to dodge attacks. Dude. Ships in the Gulf. Ships in the Gulf. They're behaving just like your boy, okay? All right.
Now to that breaking headline on the jobs report.
Let's talk about the jobs market before we start monitoring the situation. Yeah, you found me at a very Chinese time in my life, says the shippers. Why does power make American leftist politicians docile? Is pathetic. Look at Trump. It's much more difficult for there is no lane for leftist politicians. It doesn't exist. People are not comfortable with the idea, and left flank politicians are also not comfortable with the power that they've been able to scrounge together, and they worry every single fucking day that they will lose it, and they will lose this movement, and they will lose the momentum. So they act accordingly. They run from a place of fear all the goddamn time. It's a major issue that I have. It's you know, that's why I urge them to be more bold and more brave all the fucking time, and push back and fight back against both the Republicans, the fascists, but also fight back against reactionary forces within the Democratic Party as well. Anyway, let's look at the jobs market real quick, because U.S. employers cut 92,000 jobs in February. Gas prices continue to rise. You're winning so much. We're winning so much.
Elizabeth Schulze has been tracking all of this and gas prices. Elizabeth, break this down.
Hey, good morning, Rachel. This is a very disappointing report showing job losses in the American economy. The report just released shows 92,000 jobs were lost in the workforce in the month of February. Economists had thought about 50,000 jobs were added last month. The unemployment rate also ticked up. It now stands at 4.4%. So that means it is harder for people looking for a job to land one. When you look inside the details of this report, we did see job cuts in healthcare, which has been powering a lot of the growth until now. The tech sector, manufacturing, federal government also lost jobs. Big picture, there had been signs that hiring was stabilizing. This report does put that in question a bit at a time when
I need you guys to understand something. These numbers are an undercount. It means it's far worse. This is what they can get away with claiming is happening. There is a very high likelihood that this is an undercount.
we are seeing new concerns for the economy in the form of higher energy prices. The war in Iran has caused gas prices to spike more than 30 cents in just 1 week. The national average now $3.31 a gallon. Gas Buddy expects it will exceed $5 in California. The Trump administration now scrambling to try to ease this sharp increase in prices at the pump. Gas prices are the highest they've been at any point in either of the president's 2 terms in office. So the administration announcing it will ease sanctions and allow India to buy some Russian oil for 30 days. Energy Secretary Chris Wright tells ABC News that this is a move to try to boost global oil supply.
This is a very brief change in policy just to keep oil prices down a little bit better than we could otherwise. So there's a bunch of floating barrels just sitting there. We've reached out to our friends in India and said, buy that oil, bring it into your refineries.
But the reality is that the administration's options to influence global oil prices are limited as long as that critical Strait of Hormuz, where 1/5 of the world's oil flows through, is at a standstill. And this morning, we are seeing oil prices spike again. We're now closing in on $90 a barrel. At this time last week, they were closer to $65. And these higher energy costs can also quickly ripple into other prices in the economy. As companies pay more for fuel, they can pass those costs down to consumers. Rachel.
And as you said, the White House really limited in what they can do here, right? Elizabeth, thank you.
We're not yet a week in, but there's all sorts of implications that are already becoming clear for the global economy, but also different parts of the world from what's happening in Iran. And, you know, just to kind of update on the various different events that have happened. What has been going on in the last few days is the kind of horror story that economists have been telling themselves for decades and decades.
Guys, I'm beginning to think that the campaign of Operation Epic Fart is not as successful as America was presenting it. I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe in the might of our weapons. I am hopped up on pro-American fumes. I was like, America, fuck yeah, they're gonna find out once again why we don't have any healthcare, haha. And I'm beginning to feel like they're dumping all the healthcare over there, and it's still not. It's still not achieving the results. I don't know. It just kind of feels like all of the bombing campaigns, and the naval asset that they blew up, the Iranian naval ship that they blew up, that was like doing a symbolic event after they were invited by the Sri Lankan government. That wasn't necessarily, that was just a war crime for the sake of doing a war crime. And kind of feels like the government is actually hyping all of those moments, like aura and hype moments by the Indian government off the coastline of Sri Lanka. Kind of feels like those hype and aura moments are because they just haven't achieved their military results on Iranian soil as far as degrading the Iranian launch capabilities. So yeah, it's very weird. It's very strange. How could this have happened is what I'm asking myself, because I thought
mightiest military of all time, most expensive military of all time. And yet there's consistent video footage showing Iranian ballistic missile strike on Prince Sultan Air Base in Al-Kharj, Saudi Arabia, with the missile impacting very close to several U.S. service members, thankfully said to have resulted in only minor injuries to personnel at Prince Sultan. There's impact happening at the UAE. Iran hit an American Patriot missile site, lighting the entire stockpile on fire. Hezbollah is pummeling northern Israel. Very strange things taking place. Because I thought that their capacity was degraded by 70%. Iran is launching fewer missiles now compared to the first 1 to 2 days after it started. Undisputed that their capability has been degraded. Saying otherwise is not true. My friend, you fundamentally do not understand how the Iranian missile strike capabilities operate. Okay? You're wrong. You're objectively wrong. And I keep trying to explain this to people over and over again. And for some reason, a lot of people just watch the Os and Andes that keep telling them over and over again. They're like, no, any day now, it's gonna be over. Okay? Listen. Iran's missile stockpiles and their manufacturing capabilities are deep underground. So underground that even bunker busters and B-2 bombers cannot actually destroy them, as far as we know. What we are doing, what the American and the Israeli strike teams are doing with the unlimited striking capabilities that they have, is basically fly over Iranian soil, look for openings in those caves, and blow them up. Iran's own anti-air defense systems are also underground. From what I understand, the way that this works is they keep bringing them out, their anti-aircraft, their anti-aircraft weapons only get circulated out whenever they are launching. They don't have stationary positions. Under normal circumstances, you would have stationary anti-aircraft weapons, right? Israel has stationary anti-air munitions. America has stationary anti-air munitions. If you have stationary weapon systems, they are easy to destroy. Iran doesn't have them. I mean, I'm sure they have some stationary ones. I think they got blown up in the 12-day war, as a matter of fact, right? But basically, what is happening here is both the Iranian defenses and the Iranian offensive capabilities are deep underground. So what they keep doing is they take out the TELs, their erector launcher systems, from outside of their caves, and they launch their missiles, waiting for the American and the Israeli Air Force to come in, bring out their anti-aircraft capabilities, and try to blow up as many drones as they possibly can, or try to blow up the fighter jets that are flying over Iranian soil, and then hope that their entire anti-aircraft systems get destroyed, and then they bring them back underground. This is why the American air superiority over Iranian airspace is not a given, okay? It's not consistent. If you look at the strike patterns, if you look at their capabilities of striking Iranian soil, you'll realize that it's not actually very consistent. They don't have permanent air superiority over Iranian soil right now for a multitude of different reasons. And it's also very difficult to gain air supremacy over Iran because Iran is massive. But it's also very difficult for Iran to defend Iranian soil consistently, right? Because again, mountainous and massive. So they're using their mountainous terrain to their advantage. Okay? It's very difficult to implement a no-fly zone over Iran for both of these parties. for both the American and the Israeli parties, and for the Iranian government as well, for the IRGC as well. Okay? The population is dispersed across mountainous terrain. It's very difficult for them to put, I mean, it's also stupid for them to basically put stationary anti-aircraft systems out there because they're sitting ducks. Israel can just come in, fly in, blow it up one time, and it's over. That's why a lot of their anti-aircraft defense systems are actually not stationary. They periodically bring them out. However, so your assessment is Iran is winning currently? There is no winning in this situation. Iran is getting bombed into fucking oblivion. So it's not like a victory necessarily. But like here, you are correct. This is them trying to destroy the same missile city for like the 5th time this week and failing. They have not destroyed any on camera yet. Yeah, breaking. Iran's underground Damavand missile fortress just got obliterated. The IRGC secret ballistic missile and air defense base east of Tehran, buried deep in the mountains, has been hit hard by relentless U.S. and Israeli strikes. So I am not like a Milsim guy at all. But one thing I have learned from covering these sorts of incidents is the most effective way to stop artillery, the most effective way to stop munitions, the most effective way to stop bombs, basically is dirt. Okay? It's undefeated. It is the most undefeated. It's just ground. It's gravel. It's terrain. It's the most undefeated thing of all time. Okay? It is so difficult to actually successfully penetrate bedrock and get to the weapon systems underneath. You have to consistently keep bombing it over and over again with bunker buster bombs with the hopes that you can, with the hopes that you can actually engage the deep penetration necessary to get to the munition stockpile. This is the reason why when you go to an outdoor shooting range, there is usually a mountain behind it, right? There's like a mound of dirt behind the targets, because the most effective way to stop a bullet, or the most effective way to stop the most effective way to stop a bullet, or the most effective way to stop any sort of munitions, is literally just the side of a fucking mountain. Iran has plenty of mountains. And this is precisely the reason why their munition stockpile is deep underground. And it's also the reason why they can't fucking get to it. Okay? Rock is even better than dirt or sand, which is something Iran luckily has 55% of its territory made of. It's a uniquely resistant territory. Exactly. So the reason why I'm mentioning all this is because you said, like, oh, are they degrading Iran's capability? Like, it's objectively true that they're degrading Iran's capability. Yes, Iran is not capable of launching missiles with the same frequency that they did in the first couple of days, because obviously some of those cave openings have closed. But all they need to do is to dig themselves out. They can kill the people that are capable of digging themselves out, but Iran also has 93 million people. So they have a fuck ton of people in the IRGC. So they got plenty of people, and they got plenty of dirt, and they got plenty of rock, and they got plenty of terrain, and they have plenty stockpiles. And not only do they have plenty of stockpiles, but they also have a logistical supply chain that is also very difficult to intercept on the eastern side of the country. So they have a direct line to both Russia and China if they want to. Maybe they have a direct line right now that America can't infiltrate either. Pair that up with the fact that their underground like manufacturing capabilities are also deep underground, and you arrive at a situation where it's like Vietnam on fucking steroids, right? This is the difference. It's a country that has designed its entire defense and offensive capabilities for this very moment. And you're seeing the results of that right now. That's why a lot of people who are used to America dominating, America fucking shit up, are having a hard time coming to the recognition that like this fortress design of this country is actually capable of withstanding a metric ton of damage, far more damage than America and Israel have actually been able to throw in the ways of all of their other enemies, right? Like there's no similarity between Afghanistan with the Taliban. There's no similarity between this and like Iraq. There's guerrilla warfare. There's counterinsurgency techniques with boots on the ground military warfare. And that obviously is also another war of attrition of a different sort. But like this is very different. If we're talking about like maintaining air superiority, with the weapon systems that America has, with the virtually unlimited offensive capabilities that America has, they should have completely destroyed the Iranian stockpiles, or at least like their capacity to do damage to the Gulf and certainly to Israel as well. But they haven't been able to do that, right? One must ask the question, why? How is Iran's food and energy situation over the next few months? Serious question. Iran is an incredibly self-sustaining country as well. Also due to American-born limitations, ironically enough. But yeah, they are a self-sustaining country. I don't know like what natural resources they lack in times of conflict. I suspect water would probably be a problem. But as far as like their agricultural output goes, like unless America starts literally blowing up their agri-production, which they could, I wouldn't put it past them to do that because they're fucking disgusting. I suspect that they're fine for the most part. But do you understand why I say that? Like, while it looks to be like, while the frequency of their missile launches have diminished from the first day, and if you ask the Iranian government, they cope and they say, oh, it's because like we used up all of our we used up all of our older gear on the first day or whatever, and now we're using up like our newer stuff, and that's the reason why we don't have to like launch as many missiles or whatever. I think that's a little bit of cope, but I think America is also coping when they claim that they have been able to deteriorate the Iranian strike capabilities by 70% to 90%, depending on which estimate you're looking at, because the results show a very different reality. If you look at like the Gulf, the Gulf base is still taking tremendous damage with new radar facilities being destroyed every single fucking day. Okay? Every single fucking day. Bro, Rick Scott hates you and it's awesome. Rick Scott? Okay, we'll do that later. We'll do that later. Oh, that's awesome. Fuck Rick Scott. Yeah, Iran is blinding the U.S. and Israel, taking out the THAAD radar in Jordan, in the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, perhaps KSA, and Kuwait. This is the reason why Israelis are reporting that their response time, like their in the alarm system that they have, the response time has gone down by like half an hour, pretty much. Back in the day when Iranian missiles were being launched in Iran, you would have like a 25-minute response period to get to the bunkers. Okay? Now, from what I understand, it's gone down to like 1 minute or 2 minutes. The reason why it's no longer 25 minutes or 15 minutes or 10 minutes, but it's 2 minutes, is because the radar capabilities have diminished. They have been successfully destroying this entire network, these eyes that work alongside the aero systems, that work alongside the Israeli defenses, that work alongside all of these. Like this is a sophisticated network of eyes, basically, eyeballs that warn ahead of time, early advanced warning systems. Iran has been steadily destroying these multiple billions of dollars worth of fucking radars with their Shahed drones that cost $20,000 a pop. And you know, that's the reason why Israel no longer has the same defenses. This will chip away at the confidence that the Israeli public has, which currently is at like a 90% approval rating for American and Israel strikes on Iran. Iran is blinding the U.S.-Israeli defenses, taking out THAAD radar in Jordan, UAE, says Mark Ames, Bahrain, Qatar, perhaps KSA and Kuwait. Iranian intelligence and targeting is the big surprise of this war so far for the arrogant, overconfident Trump meatheads who wildly underestimated their opponent. Yeah. Third time this evening, there has been a missile warning of incoming fire from Iran towards Israel, and no sirens have sounded in the Jordanian capital. I have no idea if it's related to this. People more expert than me can say. The radar for a THAAD system was struck and apparently destroyed in Jordan, while 2 other THAAD radar systems may have been hit in the UAE. Slowly but surely, while the American and the Israeli side keep saying over and over again that they have actually diminished Iran's launch capabilities, Iran has been taking out, piece by piece, all of the different eyes and ears that they have in this region that play a very consequential role in Israeli defenses. Okay? Do you understand? They're not lobbing missiles and lobbing Shahed drones for no fucking reason at the Gulf. This is why it's laughable whenever, you know, Arakshi goes on NBC and NBC's like, why are you attacking your neighbors, Muslim countries, in the month of Ramadan? It's the holy month of Ramadan. It's like, I wonder why they're doing that. Perhaps it's because all of these other countries have American military bases, and those American military bases have equipment that plays a role in undermining the Iranian offensive. It's war. It's also very expensive, for the record. It's not like they're not just blowing up these systems to engage in a war of attrition where you know, for the ROI favors the Iranian response as opposed to the American defense. Like, that's not the only reason. That is, you know, obviously helpful if their goal is to apply pressure to the American government to withdraw. It's certainly helpful in that regard. But that's not the only reason why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want to shut off the defenses, the Israeli defenses, so that it makes it all the more difficult for Israel to continue its endless offensive. You're buying into Western propaganda. Iran is launching fewer missiles because they have to make their stockpile last for months. They can't just fire 300 missiles every single day. That would be like 10K missiles a month. No, dude, I know. I'm saying that the reason why their missile launching capabilities have quote unquote diminished is partially because they're like the American and the Israeli side are capable of closing up these tunnels. Okay, that's just the truth. It's not because their TLs are getting destroyed and they no longer have the launchers. Okay. They are slowly but surely degrading the air defenses and the radar capabilities of the American and the Israeli side. That is the achievement here for the Iranian side. Their goal, their military goal right now is very clearly to destroy American and Israeli defenses slowly but surely. But it takes a while for them to reopen those tunnels. That's my point. I'm sure that if they wanted to, I'm sure if they didn't get any degradation whatsoever, they would probably be launching even more missiles at Kuwait, even more missiles in Bahrain, even more missiles in the direction of those radar systems. And on top of that, consistently pepper Israel with their older stockpile. Their older munitions stockpile is probably still pretty large. But the reason why their capabilities of this conversation started because I was literally telling a chatter that their capabilities have not degraded in the way that the chatter thinks, because they're like, oh, they're not hitting Israel as much. Like, I was explaining to him that I was explaining to that chatter that, like, no, their capabilities have not degraded by the estimations on the Israeli side. Wait, I don't get it. You're saying their capabilities are degraded, but you're saying they're not degraded? Their launching capabilities are always going to receive setbacks after every single Israeli and American bombing campaign. Okay, that is true. However, their strike capabilities have not degraded by the American estimates. Locals say they're not slowing down. New strike reported near the U.S. base in Kuwait. Cluster munitions were used early this morning in Kuwait with another wave of attacks about an hour ago, source told Drop Site. Many locals believe the fighting had eased after Wednesday saw little activity across the Gulf, but the past 24 hours have been as intense as the first 2 days of the conflict, if not more, the local source reported. Separate OSINT accounts are circulating satellite imagery, they say, shows Iranian strikes hitting and destroying communications radomes, protective shells that cover the radar or satellite communications antennas at Camp Arifjan, a major U.S. base in Kuwait. What is this music, bro? This is crazy. Regardless of capabilities Iran has, this policy, I don't know if it's stupid or too dogmatic, of maintaining the moral high ground. I don't know if that's wise in the inhuman, i.e. humans who have forfeited their humanity with actions that are incompatible with life, U.S. Israelis. I don't know where the Iranian military doctrine is at this point because, you know, there is one thing that America has done, which is chop up the top of the fucking directory. They have killed a lot of the generals. Perhaps that was a mistake. As I said, literally before they did the decapitation strike, maybe it's not the best idea to kill all of the people that have consistently shown strategic restraint. If you recall, I said that before they did the decapitation strike. I was like, maybe America won't be dumb enough to go and do a decapitation because the Ayatollah and the leadership of the IRGC, as it stands currently, are some of the more restrained people. The IRGC has always been less restrained than the Ayatollah. The Ayatollah is the most restrained party here, but basically the people that refused to attack Israel after Israel violated the long-standing red line that Iran and the entire axis of resistance had, which was if Israel invades Gaza, they do what they're doing right now after that invasion, right? They had this capability after October 7th. Like, I need you to understand, Yahya Sinwar was aware that Iran had this capability after October 7th. And time again, the Quds forces, the IRGC refused to abide by the long-standing red lines that they had declared, as Israel violated those red lines over and over again. Israel kept slowly but surely degrading the Iranian axis of resistance. This is the real deterioration that took place as a direct consequence of the strategic restraint applied by the IRGC. They allowed the entire axis of resistance that they designed in this fucking region over the course of the last 20 years to get blown into fucking bits, including the assassination and the decapitation strikes against Hezbollah. That was very effective. All the fucking older dudes that are in the IRGC and all the older dudes that were in charge of this this process kept thinking, oh, we can negotiate with the West. We can negotiate with the West. We can negotiate with the West. Well, look what that got you. Death. Now you're dead. And the people that remain are the people who are like, well, they're killing us, so I don't think we can negotiate any longer. And this is the results. I'm telling you, like, the American and Israeli doctrine of death and destruction has unironically caused this massive economic collapse. They literally are the reason. You know how Americans say you can't negotiate with terrorists? We can't negotiate with terrorists? That's what Iran should have been saying from the start.
It's about what is the worst single thing that can happen to the global
I'm
economy.
going to go pee.
Well, it's kind of happening right now. So the Straits of Hormuz are effectively closed. I'll show you a chart on that in a second. You've got the world's biggest oil terminal that is basically down, Ras Tanura in Saudi Arabia. You've got the world's biggest gas terminal, Ras Laffan, that is down as well, all because of drone attacks from Iran. You've got tanker attacks all through the Gulf and particularly around the Straits, but including in the north end of the Persian Gulf. Like I say, this is the kind of thing that scary scenarios built by economists have been kind of talking about for years. But what's the impact? And this is where things get kind of interesting and nuanced, because you might have thought with that happening, the oil price would go crazy. And it's certainly gone a lot higher. Look at that, up by 15% in the last few days. But it hasn't gone up as much as the gas price. And here's where things get kind of interesting. So this is the gas price, actually in the UK. And that's up by 70%. And actually, at one point, you can see the line has just about come down. At one point, it was up by 100%. So it doubled. So why is there that difference between oil and gas? Well, in part, it's literally just a physical thing. It's quite hard to store gas. And so your kind of sensitivity to what's going on in the market is slightly greater. But to some extent, it's also something else. So if you look, for instance, at the oil market, it's quite well stocked at the moment. What do I mean by that? Well, this is showing you demand for oil in recent years, and then there's a kind of projection there. And then look at supply, so this red line here. And you can see supply recently has been running above demand.
This is old news. We're over 90 now. When is this from? It's from 15 hours ago.
So there's quite a lot of oil flowing out there. And, you know, the corollary of that is that quite a lot of that has gone into storage.
So here's the thing. They also stopped the production. So in order to kickstart, they're going to burn the stockpile that they have. They're going to burn through the stockpile that they have. But it's going to take a while for the production to restart. There's like a runway. There's a time constraint here as well, which will, of course, certainly hit the, which will inevitably increase the barrel prices.
Stocks, oil stocks, every country around the world has some degree of oil storage. It's easier to store, like I say, than it is gas. You can store gas, but it's just a bit harder. But oil stocks have been rising in the run-up to what's happening now in Iran. So there's a little bit of reassurance there that, look, for oil, we're kind of relatively well equipped as things go. However, it should be said, okay, so this is oil stocks mostly outside the Middle East, outside the Gulf. It's a totally different story if you're looking at oil stocks.
USS Gerald Ford passes the Suez Canal and enters the Red Sea. Here come the Houthis. Oh, shit. What is this? Yes, a bit spammy. I know you're featured wearing your Zhongshan suit in a video about hate towards the Adidas Chinese jacket. Why Chinese netizens hate the Adidas Chinese jacket? Wait, is this person saying this sucks too? I know why the Chinese netizens hate the Adidas jacket, because it's not even like traditional Chinese gear. It's from anyway, whatever. Well, what am I doing? What am I doing? ADHD, stop.
Within the Middle East, here oil stocks are kind of a problem. Different countries here, now these are all oil producers, so it's a different thing, have a certain amount of leeway, a certain amount of storage that they can put their oil into if they can't get it out. But it's not that much. So Iraq, 6 days, Kuwait, 14 days, the UAE, 19, and so on and so forth. And why does this matter? Okay, well, have a look at this. Okay, so
come on, at this point, the Houthi probably won't join the fight. Are you fucking insane? The Houthis absolutely will join the fight. Are you out of your fucking mind, chatter? What are you saying? The only reason why they haven't fucking joined the fight thus far is because, from what I understand, China is trying to keep things together between Iran and Saudi Arabia. But as soon as the Americans come in, if there's one group of people that want the fucking smoke in the region, it is the Ansar Allah movement. Oh my God, you're so wrong. Oh, I've never met a population like the fucking people of Yemen, brother. What are you saying? Oh. Yemen is already 2-0 against American forces, the American Navy. They've caused them to retreat twice. What is this? Oh. What is this? Okay, I'm not going to show this, chat. You're going to get me fucking banned, okay? Houthis are the Yemeni people are a very musical people, okay? They love their musicals. And I will say, I love their musicals too. But unfortunately, due to the fucking censorious nature of this platform that I'm on, I am incapable of showing you the musicals. Yemen so completely embarrassed the U.S. that the U.S. directed the Saudis to resume their genocide? No. No, the Saudis don't even want to fuck with the what? No, you're wrong. The Saudis literally cut a deal with the Houthis. You're wrong. Why do you put the Houthis and Yemeni people in the same boat and the Iranians with the IRGC? These are not alien entities, man. These are not alien entities. These are not people. These are not people that are like a totally separate alien life form. Where the fuck do you think the Houthi movement comes from? They are Zaidi Shia Yemenis. What the fuck? Does it help you? Does it make you feel indifferent? Does it make you feel indifferent to the violence that America is subjecting these countries to when you make it feel like it's an alien life form? You know? Is that what it is? Do American bombs distinguish between a Sunni Yemeni and a Shia? Do American bombs distinguish between school children and IRGC commanders? If no, then there is functionally no reason to not cover it in the same exact way. I mean, they do think differently. You're missing the point. This is like saying, why do you say Palestinian and Hamas as a collective unit? What do you need? What do you need to see? It does not matter if there is an ideological diversity or even friction amongst the masses. When American bombs blow up your home, they don't distinguish between gay Yemeni or homophobic Yemeni. They don't distinguish between IRGC commander and regular Iranian citizen who actually hates the IRGC. The same goes for the genocide that Israel committed in Gaza. There is no difference. So what is the difference of you and another American? None. None. What the fuck do you mean? Yes. Yes. If an alien life form came down and invaded the United States of America, you say you are super different in many ways? Brother, you are missing the point. If an alien life force came down to Earth and destroyed the United States of America and killed my family members, they would not make that distinction, okay? Just as American bombs do not make that distinction between the ideological differences between the Yemeni population or the Iranian population, a technologically advanced society's the weapons of destruction would not make such a distinction between me, my positions, my interests, and any other American. If China were to nuke the United States of America right now, if China were to drop a fucking North Korea, they won't. I'm not saying this is a likelihood at all. I'm just using this as a hypothetical argument. I'm not engaging in this like idiotic fucking thing where it's like China's going to nuke us or whatever. I'm not saying that. But in a hypothetical situation where like some other country, some foreign adversary nuked Los Angeles, California, I would be dead. They wouldn't think, well, Hasan actually has a profound understanding of Chinese development in the People's Republic of China. I'd be dead. My loved ones would be dead all the same. This is the same kind of moronic chatter that would come in here defending the IDF for targeting only Hamas for 2 years while they engage in a ceaseless genocide without restraint. Exactly. How much extra time do you get on tests? Yeah. The difference in opinion amongst the masses is utterly irrelevant. It's not even a fucking talking point that I entertain in the situation because we bomb them all the same. Okay? LMFAO, I think they're different. What you think does not matter. It is utterly immaterial, okay? Because you are not a Mark 9 Reaper drone, okay? You are not a bunker buster bomb. You are not a Moab. You are not a B-2 bomber. When you bomb Iran, you bomb all of them all the same. No, you're fucking delusional enough to think that they have specific targets. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Thank you for finally arriving at the talking point that we know you were trying to say, but you were too pussy to fucking say it outright. Why do you want to delude yourself into thinking that this guy Hasan, he must be anti-American. He's just probably in support of the IRGC. He probably is getting paid by the Iranian government. Does that make you feel better about being wrong all the fucking time? Wake up.